people walk away from here with great skills. I mean, for us, it's really humbling because we say, all right, well, we trained you that well that you're able to do that. And that's great for us. You know, the more people see Neapolitan pizza around, the better it is for the pizza industry.
It feels like there's an international day of celebration for just about every food these days. There's a day for meatballs, paella, pancakes. I even saw something about a day devoted to pisco sour. Some of these days seem a little bit of a stretch, but I actually can get around World Pizza Day, which is upon us. And if you are talking pizza, the guy you want to talk to is today's guest, Johnny Di Francesco, founder of Gradi Group, founded in Melbourne and now around the world. Johnny, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Oh, thanks, Dani. Nice to be chatting with you after so long.
I know. I've followed your career for many years, but we haven't connected for ages. Tell us why you reckon World Pizza Day is not a bad idea.
I think it's actually a really nice day to celebrate and sort of special, even trying to get your friends and families together, because pizza brings a lot of people to the same table. And why not celebrate it, and have a special day for it once a year?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things about pizza and something that, you've done a lot to foster is this idea that there's a way of doing it well. There are lots of ways of doing it, but, there are some things that you do perhaps want to consider. I mean, tell us about why you've gone so deep into pizza. Why have you become obsessed with it?
Look, I became obsessed with it when I was probably around 20 years old, and it was more the fact because what I was seeing that was happening around, especially here in Melbourne, was that pizza was seen as a fast food and just a quick product to eat. And I wanted to break that cycle and really elevate, the recognition of pizza, because people think it's just a simple product to make, but it actually isn't. There's so much effort that goes into making this product very high quality, and that was my interest, and that was where I started doing a lot of research and traveling overseas and really understanding the difference between what we were receiving here in Australia and what was actually being received in Europe, especially in Italy and Naples.
Yeah, well, I mean, your pizza was even acknowledged by Italians as the best pizza in the world. I mean, that's quite extraordinary. What does make a great pizza, in your opinion?
Time. This is where a lot of people probably don't understand, but it actually takes a lot of time. I'm not just talking about 24 hours. I'm talking 48 hours up to 60 hours. It's all about the timing. It's all about understanding, how the dough reacts, and it all starts from that. It all starts also from the flour that you're using, and that's really important.
I think, in Australia, we've got great ingredients. We really pride ourselves on it. We've certainly come a long way in valuing produce that's grown here. And yet there is also this idea that to make a real pizza, the ingredients have to come from Italy. Where do you stand on that, and how do you balance those competing passions?
This is a great question, and where I stand on it is, yes, here in Australia we have amazing produce. We've got really good fresh produce. Undoubtedly, probably some of the best in the world. But funny enough, when you look at Australian wheat, we have some of the best grown wheat in the world. But when you have a look at the flour that's been milled in Australia, we've concentrated a lot on the bakery industry. So I always tell people we've got probably some of the best flour to make bread with. But when it comes to pizza, you'll find that a lot of the flour actually comes from Australia. So it's sort of really intriguing that we send the wheat over to Italy, then they mill it in a specific way to make, a 00 flour. And then we're bringing it back to Australia to make pizza with. And this happens with a lot of product. I find tomato. I mean, we're starting to grow some amazing tomato here in Australia. I mean, I was just talking to a producer not long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and he's going to send me some samples just to have a look at. You know, there's a fine line on what we use for our pizza or making our pizza, but for me, the essential parts is the flour, the oil, and the mozzarella is really, really important for me. The rest of it, you know, if we're talking about cured meats, we've got amazing cured meats here in Australia. Yes, a lot of prosciutto comes from Italy because it has, you know, a sort of different method on how they make it, and sort of the meats are grown differently. But yeah, it's a really interesting topic. I think we're getting better, but I think we're still a little bit far off when it comes to the specific ingredients that we require.
That is so interesting. I mean, you're making a lot of pizza. Can't you just mill it here?
It's really difficult. The milling process is what we fall short on here in Australia when it comes to making pizza flour. But like I said, you know, if I was opening a bakery, I wouldn't be using anything but Australian flour, because I think it's been the industry in pizza is so small compared to the bakery industry. So I think most of the flour producers here have really put all their efforts into making the best baker's flour, and you know, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's I feel like you should have a mill, and you
Yes.
do that next. Can you?
I wish.
Johnny, I want to talk about the business journey in a minute, because I think it's really extraordinary what you continue to build with your business. But I would like to ask you about a specific pizza. It's the one that has, what is it, 1 million different types of cheese?
Yeah, 154.
154 different types of cheese. Now, I've had this pizza. I had it at your the restaurant in Mildura not that long ago, and I have to say I couldn't discern all 154 varieties. But tell me about this pizza. What inspired it, and what's it like?
So what inspired this pizza goes back probably about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I was approached by the people that produced the movie the Ninja Turtles, and in that scene there's a part where Master Splinter says, you know, the 99 cheese pizza, or the 99 formaggi, as they say in the movie. And so they contacted me and said, are you able to reproduce a pizza like this? And I thought, oh yeah, I'll try, no problem, let's try it. So that's how it started. I did a 99 cheese pizza first. I then saw that someone in, I think it was America, credited me and said, I wanted to beat the 99 cheese pizza, so I made 101 cheese pizza. And then I was talking to my team and I said, no, we can't have this. We need to smash this out of the park. Let's go for 160. And so I just started calling every cheese supplier in Australia, and we were able to get 160 different cheeses. But then what happened was we had to get somebody to authenticate or authorize each cheese that they were different. And we found that 6 cheeses were too similar, so they were sort of disqualified. And I pretty much grated 1 gram of cheese of every type and made a pizza that had 154 grams of different cheeses.
That's great. And do you stand by it as a pizza?
Look, it's one of those. I mean, I've always said that it's a bit of a gimmick, but it, like you had it. It still tastes actually quite good. It's not a pizza that's sort of overwhelming and you think, oh no, I can't have it. You know, it's still, you're never gonna distinguish the whole 154 different cheeses. It's impossible. But what we do now to simplify is we combine all the cheeses together, or else, you know, to start adding a gram of cheese on every pizza during service, we would be there for hours.
For sure. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I mean, it does, you do order it because it's a gimmick, but then it's still an enjoyable eating experience. And I guess, food with a story, or, food that has other things going on apart from its culinary qualities, that's a big part of dining. So, I reckon it's all good. So, Johnny, let's talk about the business. Tell us about the span of Gradi Group.
So we've expanded now into 7 locations across Australia. And the latest one was the one that you visited in Mildura, which has become one of my favourite places. I just absolutely love the fit out, and I love that we've combined, or added a few of a bit of Mildura into that fit out. We also have restaurants in the US. We're about to open up a second one, Dani, in probably about 4 months. So we just keep on expanding to where we think there's a market for it, and where people love pizza. And when we start looking across the globe, we think, okay, well, there's not many places that don't like pizza. So there's a big choice and a big sort of expansion. The expansion is like quite extensive if you really look into it.
What motivates you? I mean, is it the challenge? Is it the money? Is it just growing as a business person? What makes you want to open more restaurants?
Yeah, if it was all about the money, honestly, I wouldn't open more than one restaurant. I'd probably make more money opening one restaurant and just concentrating on that one. I just love the fact of seeing a brand that's come from Melbourne, and making an international product and able to go into different markets around the world and seeing people actually enjoy it and appreciate it. I think that's been my motivation, and I also love the challenge. I mean, if someone says to me, "You can't do this," it's probably the worst thing that you can ever say to me, because I would just go to the end of the earth just to try and achieve it for myself, not to prove to anyone that I can do it, but it's actually a personal achievement for me. But it also, I see the joy on our staff's face, that when we're doing something different and we're going into other countries, the team seeing that they're part of something that is in a growth stage. And honestly, I look at it, we're still in infancy growth stage. We're not anywhere near where we'd want to be, with the brand. But yeah, it's just, like I said, for me, it's a personal achievement. I grew up in Brunswick. I mean, it's just nice to see someone from a suburb that has taken something local internationally.
Well, is it actually true that your origin story, that you made your first pizzas to make a bit of pocket money to buy some sneakers?
That is 100% true, yep. I was 12 years old.
I love that. That must be a great story to share with your staff.
Yeah. People don't actually believe it when I tell them, and one thing I do regret, I wish I still had those pair of sneakers. I really do.
Yeah, that would be great to frame and put up in the first shop, or maybe the 20th shop.
Yeah.
This episode is proudly supported by Montague, handpicked for you.
So the eating experience of our plums is sweet. That's a primary driver. It's got to be sweet, but it's also got to have enough acid, because the mix of acid and sugar is what gives fruit its flavour. And in a plum, it tends to be slightly higher acidity. And then a really nice, full, not dry, but juicy explosion of juice into your mouth as you bite into it. That's nirvana for us in terms of plum.
For more information, go to montague.com.au. What about consistency, Johnny? Because I imagine, the more outlets that you have, and, the stronger the brand gets, or the stronger you want it to be, the more, that must keep you up at night.
Look, consistency has always been a big part of what we do, but we focus a lot on training. I'm actually about to open up a training facility, not only for staff but also external. where we can train up staff for the industry as well, but not only for them but for ourselves. But we really focus a lot on training. Every single day we've got somebody training on something, and we put them through a training regime, like you do this only for 6 months and that only for 6 months, and so over the course of nearly 2 years they actually become very, very, very good at what we want them to do. And people walk away from here with great skills. I mean, I've had a lot of people come through our training and have opened restaurants overseas, have opened restaurants here in Melbourne and in Australia. And for us, it's really humbling, because we say, all right, well, we trained you that well that you're able to do that. And that's great for us. The more people see Neapolitan pizza around, the better it is for the pizza industry.
Wow, that must be really satisfying. And it's so interesting that you're opening your own training facility. Is that because you perceive a lack in the training that is available through traditional channels? Yeah,
definitely. If we talk about our pizza chefs, 95% of our pizza chefs come to us untrained, have never worked in the industry, and we prefer that because we know that over a course of nearly 2 years we get them to a really good level, and we've been doing that for the last 10 years. We find that it's just easier.
Yeah, because I mean, do people even learn pizza making at TAFE?
Culinary? No. Not at all. They touch on it really basically, but it's not anything to the level that we do in house. With the new school, we're actually internationally accredited, and so we'll be able to actually give accreditation after they finish the courses with us.
Wow, that's so cool. So I mean, is there? It's like, yeah, I'm so interested. Is there modules on like this is mixing, this is shaping, this is stretching, this is how to look cool putting it into the pizza oven?
Yep, correct. And also all the theory, like we go through, protein levels in the flour and how they react and why they react certain ways, the pH levels in the water, it's focused purely on pizza making.
Wow, that's so cool. One of the things, about sort of slow risen pizza dough is that it reacts to the atmosphere, depending on whether it's more humid in the air or whatever's going on. I mean, is that a really tricky thing to train to?
Yes. So if you want to do ambient, rising, then it becomes quite difficult. We've adapted most of our restaurants, or nearly all of our restaurants, that have rooms controlled just for the dough, and it's at ambient temperature, and that's why our product is so consistent across all our restaurants.
Ah, that's so interesting. So I guess it's not about just training staff in consistency, it's also about creating the environment that promotes it.
Definitely. We can never control our ambient temperature in any restaurant. Especially kitchens fluctuate between, hot and cold. If you've got too many stoves on, your wood fire oven's going all day. So there's a lot of variables that can happen during the day. We've eliminated that. We've been focusing on that for the last 5 years, or probably actually a little bit longer, probably about 7 years. It all started when we went into the Middle East, because the Middle East really taught us that humidity and temperature is nowhere near like what we can experience here. So we had to adapt. We had to sort of, create something that was going to replicate, a perfect ambient temperature of, 18 degrees. Because at 18 degrees, we know that we're going to have an amazing pizza dough.
Yeah, wow. I can imagine the Middle East would be, like a great environment to realise things were not as they were.
Yeah.
I mean, what about the customers that you get in these different restaurants, let's say in the Middle East or in Texas? I mean, what do they want that's different, or are they always happy to sort of fold into the Gradi model and just eat what you've got on the menu?
Our menu doesn't vary much from the US to, let's say, Australia. maybe a little bit more heavy on the protein side when it comes to the kitchen. So, like a lot more steaks, and because especially that we're in Texas, Texans love their meat. But when it comes to pizza, it's like for like, and they're loving it. It's quite bizarre because we thought we were going to have to change our menu to suit each market. We haven't had to do that too much. It's very, very little changes. Like when we were in the Middle East, we obviously couldn't use any pork products, but we sourced beef products from Italy that actually taste like the meat that we're using here in Australia.
Wow. That's, really interesting. And Johnny, if there was a city that you could pluck out of your imagination that you would love to see a 400 Gradi, where would it be?
I think I want to go to Venezuela. I don't know why.
Really? Yeah. Wow, that is a really interesting choice. Yeah. I would not have picked that in 100 guesses. Yeah. Why Venezuela?
I don't know. I'm just intrigued. It's like, I think it's a country that most people don't think about going to, and I like doing things that most people don't think something can actually work. I mean, I always joke about, we're going to have the first pizzeria on Mars, right? But I always throw it out there, and people laugh at me about it. But I say to people, if you don't put it out there, then it's never going to happen. But yeah, so if Elon Musk ever listens to any of your podcasts, I'm ready to go to Mars.
Well, he hasn't given me a blue tick, so I'm not sure if he's all about the podcast, but I reckon it's probably about to happen.
I reckon it will, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Things are pretty rough in Venezuela. Like, a lot of people are leaving Venezuela because things are so, economic hardship and all that. But, maybe if they could just gather around a great pizza, sort out their issues, that would be part of the solution.
Yeah. Pizza solves everybody's issues. I think at the table when you're eating pizza, you forget about all your problems.
Yeah, it is great. What a great food. What's your favourite pizza, Johnny?
Oh, look, I can't ever go past the margarita. I mean, that for me, that's the most difficult pizza in the world to make, but has the most simplistic flavours to it if it's done well. But to actually make it, really, really, really well, it does take a lot of technique. So that for me is my favourite pizza. Yep.
Yeah, it's the gold standard. Hey, I reckon if someone's doing a good margarita, then probably everything else is going to be pretty good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is on your radar for 2023?
We're doing a few things. We're opening another restaurant in Carlton, on Lygon Street. It's not going to be a Gradi though. We're doing something else. It's really, really interesting.
Okay, is it a gnocchi restaurant?
No. We're going to do it's going to be a restaurant that has only home cooked food. So we're still going to have pizza, but it's going to be like we had pizza at home. Yeah, and even our dishes. We're pretty much opening a restaurant like you're going to your nonna's home. That's what we're doing. We want to bring a little bit of spunk back to Lygon Street, Carlton.
Wow, that is exciting. And when's that going to open?
Look, we're hoping that they're building at the moment, so we're hoping that the build will be finished by the end of April, and then we'll probably open 4 weeks after that.
Have you got a name for it?
Yes. I'm sure the boys aren't going to be too upset if I tell them because it's out there anyway. It's going to be called Johnny Vincent Sam's. So have you ever heard of, I'm sure you have because they're doing so well out there, but the boys from Sushi Mango?
Yeah.
So we're opening with those boys.
Right. Okay. And how does it work to open a restaurant with a comedy duo?
Comedy, yeah. So we've pretty much conceptualized the restaurant around their characters. And for them, it's all about their family home and, how they grew up, with their heritage, and obviously it falls into my heritage as well. So I can sort of relate to it very, very easily. So I'll be doing all the menu for it, and we've got another partner that's going to be running the restaurant. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting, Dani.
I'm absolutely fascinated. Again, you surprised me, and it sounds like a concept restaurant, but I know there'll be so much integrity to the food, and I will definitely look forward to checking it out. Johnny, thank you so much for sharing your passion and knowledge and story with us today. It's a really inspiring one, and always love watching your star shine. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. And thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinenat deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This